Add excitement to your holidays with Ohio Lottery Holiday Scratch-Offs, including $1 holiday cash and $5 holiday lucky times 10, or holiday bonus millions with a 200 times multiplier and a $2 million top prize. Plus, enjoy second chance drawings where you can win 10 times, 100 times, or 1,000 times the price of your ticket. Scratch-Offs make the perfect gift, and best of all, there's no wrapping required. Lottery players are subject to Ohio laws and commission regulations. Play responsibly.
Thanks for choosing this free Anfield Index podcast. If you'd prefer to listen to this or any of our other shows without adverts, then now's the time to check out Anfield Index Pro. With AI Pro, you can supercharge your entire listening experience. You'll not only get all of our podcasts without the ads, but you'll have them far faster with our Quick Publish feature available exclusively for subscribers. AI Pro also puts you in the heart of our sound studio, with an option to listen to many of our shows live and interact with the podcasters in real time as the shows are recording. Upgrading couldn't be easier. AI Pro is available on all popular podcast platforms. Just head on over to AnfieldIndexPro.com and get started today.
Hello and welcome to the Daily Red, your lunchtime catch-up on all things Liverpool FC and your daily reminder that the Reds are top of the league. Right. Today's nonsense that we have to deal with is this ongoing nonsense that John Terry, Rio Ferdinand and Nemanja Vidic were better than Virgil van Dijk. Now, this, like most stuff you find on the internet, is not based in any kind of reality. It's based in the delusion and the bias of fans of certain clubs. Let's start with this. Rio Ferdinand and Nemanja Vidic aren't even the top two centre-backs that Manchester United have had in the Premier League era. Both Jaap Stam and Gary Pallister were better. Both better than Rio and Vidic. Vidic was better than Rio when they played together as well. Rio gets a lot of praise because of the aesthetics. Rio was, to his era, what William Saliba is to now. John Terry wasn't the best player, the best centre-back in the great Chelsea team that he played in. Ricardo Carvalho was better. We can look at the fact that neither Vidic nor Terry had any pace. We can look at the fact that none of the three were better in the air than Virgil. None of the three were as good on the ball as Virgil. None of the three were as quick as Virgil. None of the three were as good in 1v1 situations as Virgil. We can look at the fact that John Terry spent most of his career playing in deep to mid blocks with a world-class centre-back next to him in Carvalho, who was better than him, and Ashley Cole to his left, one of the great left-backs of all time, with two sitting midfielders in front of him. Then you hear the argument that they played against better opposition, better forward players. So I thought what we'd do is we take a little season-by-season stroll through the prime years of these three individuals, and then we'll take a season-by-season stroll through who Virgil played against. Because I saw a tweet today that listed the players that each played against. And you know somebody is really struggling to make their argument when they come up with absolute nonsense, such as the following. Henry, Rooney, Torres, Drogba, Shearer, who Vidic played against. Well, first of all, he never played against Rooney because they played for the same team. Shearer, Nemanja Vidic never played against him. Nemanja Vidic joined Manchester United in January of 2006, and Alan Shearer retired in May of 2006. There was a 6-month crossover. United played Newcastle one time in that 6 months, and Nemanja Vidic didn't play. So he didn't play against Alan Shearer. In terms of Henry operated centre moving left for the most part. When he went up against United, it was largely Rio Ferdinand that he roasted as a profession. And every time Fernando Torres went up against him, he made Nemanja Vidic soil his pants. Then there's the list of who Virgil went up against. Havertz, Højlund, Jota, Jackson, Isak. No Erling Haaland mentioned there. You know, the guy at City that looks like a Viking, scores 40 goals a season. He doesn't count. No Harry Kane, the best number 9 in the world. He doesn't count. No Sergio Aguero. He doesn't count. This idea that the players in the 2000s went up against better forwards is just not rooted in reality. So let's go season by season, okay? Let's just look at the top scorers in the Premier League season by season through the peaks of Ferdinand, Vidic and Terry and through Van Dijk's tenure in the Premier League. So we'll start with 04-05. That's the season John Terry really emerged as a, top-level centre-back in that Chelsea team under Jose Mourinho. Now, Rio was obviously in the league already. Vidic doesn't come along, as I said earlier, till January of 06, so the next season. But we're going to start in this season. So first name, Thierry Henry. Unbelievable footballer. Absolutely no problem there. Next top goal scorer, Andy Johnson. Average. Robert Pires, a winger, was third. Jermaine Defoe, good, not great. Jimmy Floyd Hasselbank, good, not great. Frank Lampard, a midfielder, played with John Terry. Yakubu, good, not great. The ghost of Andy Cole. Peter Crouch, early in his career, average enough, decent player. And Eidur Gudjohnsen, good, not great. So there's one top-level striker there. That's Thierry Henry. We move on to 05-06. You've got Henry, fair enough. You've got Ruud van Nistelrooy. He played with Rio and Vidic. Didn't play against them. Did play against Terry, so fair enough. Darren Bent, average. Robbie Keane, good, not great. Frank Lampard, a midfielder that played with Terry. Wayne Rooney, played with Vidic and Ferdinand. Marlon Harewood, average. Bellamy, average. Yakubu. Henri Camara, average. And Didier Drogba, who played with John Terry. So John Terry not playing against this individual. We move on. 06-07. Drogba, top scorer. Played with Terry. Benny McCarthy, pretty average. Cristiano Ronaldo, played with Vidic and Terry. Vidic and Rio, also played out wide, so Terry didn't mark him. Rooney. Viduka, good, not great. Darren Bent, decent. Kevin Doyle, pretty average. Dimitar Berbatov, tremendous player. This time was at Spurs, so that's okay. Dirk Kuyt, a wide player mostly, but, he wasn't exactly prolific number 9. And Yakubu again. 07-08. Cristiano, wide player, played with Vidic and Rio. Henry is gone by this point. Adebayor, good, not great. Torres, great, rinsed Vidic every time. Roque Santa Cruz, pretty average. Benjani, pretty average. Berbatov, quality. Robbie Keane, good, not great. Yakubu. Carlos Tevez, that season playing with Vidic and Terry. Vidic and Rio, rather. And then John Carew, who was bang average. 08-09. Nicolas Anelka, playing for Chelsea with John Terry. Very good. Cristiano. Steven Gerrard, a midfielder. Robinho, a winger. Fernando Torres. Gabby Agbonlahor, average. Darren Bent. Kevin Davies, average. Dirk Kuyt was playing as a winger that year. Frank Lampard and Wayne Rooney. It's not exactly a long list of top quality opponents that we've come through yet, is it? Drogba then in 09-10. Rooney, second. Darren Bent. Tevez now with City, so that's one. He was great. Lampard again. Torres again. Defoe. Cesc Fabregas, a midfielder. Adebayor, Agbon Lahore, and Luis Saha. These are not murderer's rows of attacking talent. Then you get Berbatov playing for United, Tevez, Van Persie, fair, Darren Bent, Peter Odom-Wingy, DJ Campbell, Andy Carroll, Chicharito played for United, Dirk Kuyt, Florent Malouda at Chelsea, and Rafa van der Vaart, who was a midfield player. Are we scared yet of this list? Because I don't think we are. Then you get Van Persie, Rooney playing with Rio and Vidic, Aguero, fair. They get one season of Aguero there. This is young Aguero. Clint Dempsey, average. Adebayor, Yakubu, well past his best. Demba Ba had a hot streak, average after that. Grant Holt, average. Dzeko, fair. Balotelli, okay. Molly doesn't like Balotelli. Papi Cisse had a hot streak and then was never really much vending after that. 2012-13, Van Persie's now playing with Rio and Ferdinand. There is Suarez, who regularly torched them. Gareth Bale, winger or 10. Benteke, Michu, a very young Lukaku, Demba Ba, Berbatov now past his best playing for Fulham, Ricky Lambert and Frank Lampard. At the end of that season, Ferguson leaves United. Rio and Vidic look washed. Terry has a little bit left in the tank, not a whole lot. But let's look at 13-14. Then you've got Suarez, you've got Sturridge. They destroyed United easily. Yaya Toure, a midfield player. Aguero. Rooney, still at United, still with Rio and Vidic. Wilfred Bony, Edin Dzeko, Oli Giroud, Lukaku, and Jay Rodriguez. Like, this is not... And at the end of that season, of course, Rio goes to QPR and Vidic went to, I want to say, Inter Milan or somewhere. Might have even been January that Vidic left. Either way, there are some tremendous players there that they played against. It's not a long list. It's not an exhaustive list. It's not, you know, a world-class opponent every week. It's not now either, but it's not. It certainly wasn't then, but it's made out that it was. If we also just take a quick look there through those seasons at the fact that teams weren't scoring nearly as many goals for most of those seasons as they are now. You know, the odd team would. But 04-05, Chelsea score 72. That's the team with Vidic, with Rio, obviously. And Arsenal score 87. Nobody else scores more than 60. Nobody else scores more than 60. So you're not playing against high-powered attacking teams week after week. The following season, you get Chelsea and United on 72. They're not playing against each other. They've got Arsenal. So they've got nobody else then over 55. Nobody else over 55. Liverpool, by the way, every bit as good defensively as these teams back then. And we're not throwing Carragher's name into this mix. He was going up against more of these players because we only had Torres and Gerrard. United had Cristiano, Rooney, Van Nistelrooy, Tevez, Berbatov. Chelsea had Drogba, Malouda, Anelka, and who else did we name? Lampard. So Carragher was actually going up against more great opponents through a season. None of us are trying to put him into that conversation. But if we really wanted to, from 05 to 09, the gap between Carragher and them wasn't enormous. It was there. They were better than him. It wasn't enormous. The gap between them and Carragher is smaller than the gap between Virgil and them. 06-07, you've got United score 83, Chelsea score 64, Arsenal score 63, and that's it over 60. The following season, you've got 5 teams now over... 6 teams over 60. No, it is 5 teams. Excuse me, 5 teams over 60. One of them is United. One of them is Chelsea. You've got Arsenal, Liverpool, and Aston Villa. And that's it. 08-09, United, Chelsea, Liverpool, and Arsenal, and that's it over 60. 09-10, Chelsea, United, Arsenal, Spurs, City, and then you've got us with 61 and Everton with 60. Not exactly putting the fear of God into teams. 11-12, United with 78, Chelsea with 69, Arsenal with 62, City with 60, and everybody else is below that. The league was not as high-paced, and the attacking talent was not nearly as high. The quality of football was really good. It was a great time for midfielders, and we had a lot of really good centre-backs and full-backs. We didn't have a big laundry list of great attackers. We just didn't. 11-12, City, fair enough, 93. Then United, 89. Arsenal, 74. And Spurs, 66. And Chelsea, 65. But again, like, Terry's not playing against the Chelsea attack, and Rio and Vidic are not playing against the United attack. 12-13, United 86, Chelsea 75, Liverpool 71, Arsenal 72, City and Spurs 66. Like, that's a rare season there with 5. A rare season with 5 teams scoring over 60. And then that final season, there are actually 6 teams over 60. City, Liverpool, Chelsea, Arsenal, Everton, and United. United were awful that season. Rio and Vidic were washed. As the league got better, that kind of coincided with them timing out of the league. Now, if we move on to the years Van Dijk's been in the league. So starting 15-16, he's at Southampton. So again, over 60. Leicester, Arsenal, Spurs, City, West Ham, and Liverpool. So starting off straight away with 6 teams. Your top scorers that year, Harry Kane, he's pretty good. Sergio Aguero, he's pretty good. Lukaku now fully formed, pretty good. Jamie Vardy had a couple of seasons where he was incredible. Riyad Mahrez, Footballer of the Year. Footballer of the Year, it should be pointed out. Oli Giroud, Jermaine Defoe, Igalo, Dini, and Alexis Sanchez. Now a winger, but still a hell of a player. These are who Van Dijk is going up against. John Terry is still in the league at this point, but he's been carried by that. 16-17. Over 60, you've again got 6 teams. Chelsea, Spurs, United. Chelsea, Spurs, City, Liverpool, Arsenal, and Everton. Your top scorers, Kane, Lukaku at his very best, Alexis, Aguero, Diego Costa, Dele Alli, Zlatan Ibrahimovic, Eden Hazard, Josh King, not very good, but, Christian Benteke, Jermaine Defoe, and Fernando Llorente. Now, again, Alexis Sanchez is a wide player, but Kane, Lukaku, Aguero, Diego Costa, Dele Alli, all of the very best. Dele was a second striker. He wasn't a midfielder. He played off Kane. He didn't play just in front of the midfield. So I'm more comfortable including him than I would be with a Lampard, say. But again, Terry never played against Lampard for Chelsea. Didn't that prime Lampard? Virgil was playing against Dele and Kane. So I think it counts. 17-18 then. Over 60 again. There's 6. City, United, Spurs, Liverpool, Chelsea, and Arsenal. So there's more teams with really good attacks, and then the caliber of strikers. Now you've got Salah. Okay, Virgil joined Salah in January. Wasn't there initially. We won't count it, but still, you know what I mean. Kane, Aguero, Vardy, Raheem Sterling, Lukaku, Bobby, Lacazette, Gabriel Jesus, Hazard, Mahrez, Glenn Murray, and Heung-min Son. There's more good attacking teams, and the talent they're going up against is every bit as good. 18-19, City, Liverpool, Chelsea, Spurs, Arsenal, and Manchester United, all over the 60-goal mark. Strikers, Aubameyang, Mane, playing wide, but Virgil did play against Mane for a year and a half when he was still at Southampton and Mane had joined us. Aguero, Vardy, Kane, Sterling, Hazard, Callum Wilson, Raul Jimenez. Real Jimenez, pre-head injury though, was a good player. Lacazette, Glenn Murray, Paul Pogba, Richarlison, Gylfi Sigurdsson. The less said about him, the better. Like, the talent is every bit as good. 1920, Liverpool, City, United, Chelsea, Leicester, and Spurs. Again, all over 60. There's only what did I have? 2 seasons with 6? In the entire run of Terry, Vidic, and Real? Every season that Virgil's been in the league, there's at least 6. Or there is 6 so far. Your top scorers then, Vardy, Aubameyang, Danny Ings, Raheem Sterling, Mo, Kane, Mane, Jimenez, still pre-head injury, Anthony Martial, very talented, but obviously very hit and miss, and Marcus Rashford. Maybe a down year there, goal-scoring wise. But the teams are still blasting in goals. We move on then to 2021. Now, obviously, Virgil misses this year, but just for the sake of being complete, City, United, Liverpool, Leicester, West Ham, Tottenham, and Leeds. So 7 teams with 60 or more goals. Top scorers, Kane, Salah, Bruno, Bamford, Son, Calvert-Lewin, Vardy, Ollie Watkins, starting to make his mark, Ilkay Gundogan, obviously midfielder, and Lacazette. I think the talent is every bit as good. I do. The attacking talent is every bit as good. Then we move on to 21-22. City, Liverpool, Chelsea, Tottenham, Arsenal, West Ham, and Leicester. Again, 7 teams. Top scorers, Mo, Son, Cristiano, back in the league, playing as a 9, Kane, Mane, KDB obviously playing as a midfielder, Jota playing for us, as was Son and Mane, Vardy, Wilf Zaha, and Raheem Sterling.
I don't need a VPN. I've got nothing to hide. Ha. This is what I used to tell myself before I hooked up with LibertyShield.com. Not only is my home internet now fully encrypted, but I can now access all the websites I want, whenever I want, and do so from absolutely anywhere. As a Liverpool fan, I love to know I can now watch every match, regardless of whether it's on UK TV or not. My Liberty Shield VPN makes sure nothing is blocked and guarantees me super fast streaming speed throughout that match. You can get connected right now with their software package, which includes a 48-hour no-obligation free trial and instant access to their apps for Apple, Android, Fire TV, PC, Mac, and Android TV. Or go a step further like I have and get one of their pre-configured VPN routers. These small but powerful devices allow you to easily connect every device in your home to VPN, making it the perfect solution for smart TVs, Mac boxes, and games consoles. Visit LibertyShield.com today and use coupon code AIVPN25 to get 25% off at checkout.
22-23, you've got City, you've got Arsenal, you've got Newcastle, Liverpool, Brighton, and Tottenham. So you've got 6 that year. But all 6 of them have 68 or more, which is very high. Your top goal scorers, Erling Haaland, Harry Kane, Ivan Toney, Callum Wilson, Marcus Rashford, Martinelli as a winger, Odegaard as a midfielder, Ollie Watkins, Mitrovic, Bukayo Saka as a winger. And obviously Mo is in there as well, but I didn't include him because Virgil didn't play against them. 23-24 last season. City, Arsenal, Liverpool, Villa, Tottenham, Chelsea, Newcastle, and West Ham. 8 teams scoring 60 or more. 7 of them scored over 70. The lowest of those 7 was Spurs on 74. You're talking about going up against high caliber attacks. Now, part of that last year was the league was poor defensively, so do have to be fair about that. Erling Haaland, Cole Palmer, Alexander Isak, Phil Foden, Solanke, Ollie Watkins, Mo, Son, Bowen, Mateta, and Saka. I'm sorry, the argument that those players back then went up against better quality strikers just is not, it doesn't pass the sniff test. Yes, they went up against Thierry Henry, who's better than anybody that Van Dijk has gone up against. I will accept that. But Erling Haaland is better than anybody else that they went up against. Harry Kane is better than anyone else they went up against. Mo, I know Virgil wasn't playing against, but Mo was better than anyone they went up against. And more teams score at a high clip. And then you look at what else Virgil's done. He's gone up against Cristiano in the Champions League. Never got a kick of the ball. Went up against Lewandowski in his prime. Never gave him a kick of the ball. He's gone up against Mbappe a bunch of times. It's rarely given him a kick of the ball. You know? Like, what are we even talking about here with this notion? I am the nostalgia merchant. Nobody stands more for the 90s and 2000s of the Premier League than me. Well, trust me when I say the quality of attackers now is deeper than the quality of the attackers then. Teams are much more attack-minded now than they were then. Look at the fullbacks that they played with versus the fullbacks that Virgil plays with. Virgil has played with glorified wingers. They were playing with Gary Neville or Ashley Cole. Ashley Cole could get forward, but he was primarily a defensive fullback. This idea that Virgil's had it easier is not borne out in any facts. Virgil defends the halfway line. John Terry defended his 18-yard box. John Terry was very good for the team he played in, and he suited the team he played in. A deep to mid block with defensive fullbacks and 2 lads sat in front. And a reliance on Frank Lampard, Didier Drogba, and the 2 wide players to get them the goals. One fullback would join an attack. Rarely both. For Van Dijk, it's both all the time. And for the latter years of his career here, it's been one midfielder at most sat in front. Last season, it was none. This season, at times, it's none. Because our midfield is pressing to go and win the ball higher up. John Terry couldn't have played in this Liverpool team. He just couldn't. Nemanja Vidic couldn't have played in this Liverpool team or the Klopp Liverpool team. Terry couldn't have played in the Klopp Liverpool team. Now, Rio probably could have, because he had the pace. Because he could play in a high line. But the difference here is that Virgil could play in a deep block very easily. I don't think Rio could. Because Rio's big thing was, Rio didn't read the game great. He wasn't the best positionally. But Rio had that pace that got him out of trouble. Very similar to Saliba. Rio's recovery ability was where he stood out. His covering ability for Vidic was also a big factor, because he had the pace to get across behind him. But in tight, small spaces, Rio got rinsed quite regularly. And I would bet if they kept stats of it at the time, Rio got dribbled past probably 5 times more often than Virgil. Rio was easily beaten 1v1. He would get back at them and he would recover, but they would beat him regularly. And he wouldn't recover every time. Virgil also plays in an era of VAR, where every foul gets picked up on. They didn't. Go and watch some of Rio's games and watch what he got away with. Go and watch some of Terry's games and watch what he got away with. Pulling jerseys, tripping people, late into challenges, things that they got away with. They got away with them for 2 reasons. 1, the referees mightn't have seen it properly, and 2, they were England centre-backs. They're not even the best English centre-backs of the Premier League era. I mentioned Gary Pallister earlier. He was better than Rio. Terry, I would say, better than Pallister. Just about, and it would be very close. But Tony Adams was better than John Terry. And Sol Campbell was better than John Terry. As I mentioned earlier, Carvalho was better than all 3 of them. Stam was significantly better than them. Paul McGrath was better than them. I don't say Virgil's the best centre-back the Premier League has ever seen just because I'm a Liverpool fan. I say it because having looked at every season of the Premier League in detail, having lived through the whole thing, having been old enough to appreciate it when it began, and been a really old man now, I've seen it. I've seen them all. And there's never been one like Virgil. It's why I think he's the most complete centre-back to ever play the game. Not just in the Premier League, ever. The most complete centre-back to ever play the game. Because there's no area that you look at and you think that's a weak point. Everyone else had a weak point. John Terry, it was pace. He also wasn't the best on the ball. He was okay on the ball. He wasn't the best on the ball. With Rio, it was concentration and 1v1. Positioning. These are areas he struggled in. With Vidic, it's pace. It's 1v1. It's a limitation on the ball. Virgil's great across all those markers. And then when I look at the greats of the game, I asked myself, well, could they play in any era, for any team, under any manager, playing any style of football? And the answer with all of them is no. Could you imagine Franco Baresi playing centre-back for Tony Pulis, Stoke? No, you couldn't, because Franco Baresi's 5'9". If Franco Baresi came through now, or in the last 20 years, he'd have been shifted to right back at about 15 or 16. Gaetano Syria would have been moved into defensive midfield. He played largely as a sweeper, incredible defender, but he was 5'10", 5'11". He'd have been made a defensive midfielder. People always bring up Maldini. Paolo Maldini is the best defender I've ever seen. I think he's the best defender to ever play the game. Paolo Maldini was a left back. He played centre-back late in his career. He'd played there periodically through his career, filling in when Baresi was injured or suspended or whatever. But he didn't become a regular centre-back until the last couple of years of his career, at which point he was moved there because he'd lost his pace. He could read the game like nobody's business. He's the best ever in that regard. But if we're being really honest, Maldini's by far the best left-back ever, but he's not a top 10 centre-back ever. And when I see people list Maldini as a centre-back, when they're trying to make an argument as who's the best centre-back ever, and they say Paolo Maldini is one of the first few names, I immediately just stop listening to them because they don't know what they're talking about. Because Paolo Maldini was a left-back. He wasn't a centre-back. He shifted inside late in his career for a few seasons, and he was very good, but not great there. Alessandro Nesta was about the perfect centre-back. But he didn't have Virgil's aerial dominance. He wasn't the passer that Virgil is. I don't think Nesta could have played for Stoke in a deep block with the ball being thundered in them non-stop. I don't think he could have played in that style. But I know Virgil could have. Virgil, you could put into any team ever, and he makes them better. Now, you can put Nesta into any team ever, and he makes them better. I just don't think he could play in any style. I don't think Nesta could have played in that deep block, boot it long type of game. I just don't think it would have worked for him. But he's the only other one that you would say comes close. But Virgil's quicker. He's better 1v1. He's better in the air. He's a better passer of the ball. I would give Nesta a slight edge in positioning and reading the game, but it's minuscule. It's like 9.5 for Virgil, 10 for Nesta. But this notion of Terry or Ferdinand or Vidic, just madness. Absolute madness. They are creations, especially the two English lads, of Sky Sports and English bias. They're not even the best English centre-backs in the Premier League era. They're not the best centre-backs to play for their own clubs in the Premier League era. Neither of them, in their peaks, was the best player in their own team, the best centre-back in their own team. Vidic was better than Ferdinand, and Carvalho was better than John Terry. And I would say Desailly was better than Terry as well. So I would say Terry's third at Chelsea, Rio's fourth at United. If you want to make an argument for Terry over Desailly, fair enough. I don't agree, but fair enough. But at best, then he's second. The only argument Rio would have is over Vidic. It's not over Pallister. It's certainly not over Stam. People look at them and they look at what they won and they go, they must be great. They must be great. They've got 5 and 6 Premier League titles. They played in great teams. That's all that tells you. It doesn't tell you anything else. It doesn't tell you anything else. If you want to argue that John Terry is better than Virgil because he's won more league titles, okay, that's fair enough. But Wes Brown is then better than John Terry because he's won more Champions Leagues. Darren Fletcher is better than Steven Gerrard because he's won more in his career. John O'Shea is better than Vincent Kompany because he won a Champions League and Vincent Kompany didn't. Like this is the type of argument you're trying to make. When you resort to this player won this many medals and like here's a prime example of it. I saw this this nonsensical drivel yesterday. Let's see if we can find it. Oh yeah, John Terry, most Premier League clean sheets as a defender. That's a team accomplishment. And he did it playing in defensive teams. Highest scoring defender in Premier League history. Okay, what do you want, a medal? Is that even true? Maybe it is. But who cares? That's not a defensive attribute. Least goals conceded in a Premier League season. A team accomplishment. A very defensive-minded team. Captain Chelsea to 86 home games unbeaten. Hang on. Congrats, JT. Well done. Well done, son. Van Dijk had a really long unbeaten home league run as well. That's a team accomplishment, you imbecile. Captain Chelsea to 5 Premier Leagues. Did he, though? Did he really? Or was it 4? And then for the 5th, he was dropped after a couple of games, barely played the majority of the season, and then came out with his full kit on at the end, like he likes to do. Again, team accomplishments, dumbass. 1 Premier League playing every minute at 35. Well, first of all, no, he didn't. No, he didn't. Here's last Premier League when he was a regular starter was the 14-15 Premier League. Managed, obviously, by Jose Mourinho. Chelsea would win the league in 14-15. And to his credit, he did play every game. But John Terry turned 34 that year, not 35. John Terry's birthday is in December. So in December of 2014, he turned 34 years of age, not 35. So if you can't even give me reality and facts, if you can't look up something as simple as that, you're really not worth my while listening to. That's just drivel. Over drivel. In the same way, Vidic is the only centre-back to win Footballer of the Year twice in the hardest era for Premier Leagues, for centre-backs, rather. Well, no, absolutely not. In no way is that true. We've just been through the numbers. We've been through who they were going up against and how many goals teams were scoring. But also, which Player of the Season award did he win? Did he win the PFA Player of the Year award? And no, he did not. Did he win the Football Writers Player of the Year award? No, he did not. He won the Premier League Player of the Season, which, I'm not being funny, nobody cares about. Nobody cares about it at all. So, that's a nonsense point. It's absolutely ridiculous. Here are some of the players who've won that award. Kevin Phillips. Freddie Ljungberg. We going to get all excited about them? No? Not really care about them? Did he win the Football Writers Player of the Year? Don't believe he did. Let's have a look, though. No, he did not. No, he did not. But in the seasons he won the Premier League Player of the Season, and Steven Gerrard won it one year. The Football Writers Player of the Year. So, we're not going to get too excited. What about the PFA Player of the Year? Did he win that one? Is it possible that he won that award? I don't think he did. But we can have a quick look. No, He didn't win that one either. You know who did win it? Virgil van Dijk won it. Virgil van Dijk won it. But your guy didn't win it. And Virgil, by the way, should have won the Writers' Player of the Year. But stupid people decided to give it to Raheem Sterling, who wasn't even the best player at City that season. So these things are just nonsense that people throw out online. None of it is based in reality, and none of it is really the argument that they think it is. So when you hear them say, oh, well, they went up against tougher teams or tougher... No, they didn't. Virgil has played in an era where teams are better and more attacking. They're just more attack-minded. That's just what the fact of it is. There are far more attack-minded teams in the league now than there were when Vidic, Terry and Ferdinand were playing. And the individual caliber was better in Virgil's era overall than it was in their era. When you factor in opponents that weren't playing for them. So you take out Drogba for Terry, you take out all the United lads for Virgil's been going up against better quality. Yes, they went up against Henry. Congrats to them. He rinsed them all routinely. Virgil's gone up against Kane, against Haaland, against Aguero, and he's put them all in his pocket. On AnfieldIndex.com, there is a new update on Trent. There is a piece about Gravenberch, a piece about Mo, a piece about the game on Sunday. There's a preview then ahead of tomorrow night's game against the Toon. There is Dave Davis's breakdown of Arne Slot's press conference. There is Arne Slot's press conference, which you should listen to hear him refer to Man City's 115 charges. There is a new Under Pressure with Dan Kennett, Cy Brundish, Hamza and Phil Barker. And there is the latest David Lynch podcast. So check all of those out and I'll be back tomorrow. Take care of yourselves. Bye-bye.
We hope you enjoyed listening to this Anfield Index show. Please be sure to subscribe to our channel so future podcasts find their way to your device automatically. There's nothing quite like fan engagement, and we'd love to know what you think of anything discussed on this show. The best way to get in touch is over on our free Discord community, where both podcasters and listeners debate the hottest LFC topics 24/7. Sign up free now at AnfieldIndex.com/Discord. You won't regret it. You can also follow us on Twitter at Anfield Index and find us on Facebook by searching for Anfield Index. Oh, and before you go, we'd love it if you could leave us a 5-star review on your favourite podcast app. It only takes a couple of seconds, and it means the world to the people who create these free shows.
This podcast is part of the Sports Social Podcast Network.